Today is your last lecture regarding the content or syllabus of your subject. And after that, we will have, inshallah, only one assignment class, and then our syllabus will be completed. So we will be continuing our last assessment criteria, that is 4.3. Evaluate the impact of competition policy and other regulatory mechanisms on the activities of a selected organization. So in previous lecture, we actually discussed the impact of competition policy and the benefits of such policy while working in different economic environment. And in today's class, we will be discussing the challenges that are usually faced while working in different economies. So, the objective of today's class is to understand the various challenges that can occur while operating in different economies and how to deal with such situation in which you have to face various challenges by working in different economies or in different markets. So usually, what kind of challenges can occur, or what kind of challenges can be seen or usually faced by different organizations when they are working in different markets? Maybe it can be the international market, open market, free market, the local market. Okay, operating in different economies can present several challenges for businesses due to the variations in economic conditions, regulatory environments, cultural differences, and market dynamics. Some of the challenges that can arise include, okay, so why does such kind of challenges arise? They can arise due to differences, many differences. Now, these differences can be cultural differences, language differences, environment, regulatory environments, means different in environments, and economic conditions, of course. So, the first is economic volatility. Different economies may experience fluctuations in economic conditions such as GDP growth, inflation rates, exchange rates, and interest rates. Businesses needs to adapt to these volatile economic conditions, which can impact consumer spending, market demand, and business profitability. Okay, so these are such some you can say conditions in which the economies are actually affected. Okay, how the economies get affected? By the inflation rates, by the growth of the organizations, or GDP growth, you can say, the interest rates, and the exchange rates. So, as a result of all these changes, there can be variation in economy of a certain organization, or even the economy or economic environment of a market. Businesses needs to adapt to these volatile economic conditions, which can impact consumer spending, market demand, and business profitability. Okay, so market demand and business profitability, of course, the both of these things will directly affect the condition of the market. What is GDP? GDP is basically, you can say, it is a sign that shows that organization is working well, or the organization is growing well. When the actual GDP is growing strongly, then employment will start to increase, and the company will hire more and more workers, or you can say employees, for the proper functioning of the organization. Then comes regulatory complexity. Each country has its own regulatory frameworks, laws, and compliance requirements. Adhering to these regulations can be complex and time consuming, requiring businesses to understand and navigate through different legal systems and taxation policies, labor laws, and trade regulations. Okay, now what is regulatory complexity? Every country, with respect to the business market, or you can say separate business class of individuals, the businessmans or the other people who are aiding the businesses. So every country has a special kind of framework, regulatory framework, which includes the laws, the policies, the regulations, the requirements, everything. Okay, so now it is very important for every organization or the business to keep themselves adhere to the regulatory framework of that country in order to work properly. So sometimes when a single organization is working in different markets, so of course the regulatory framework will differ while the organization is working in an international market and a free market at the same time. So due to working in different economic environment and facing different regulatory framework, then the organization can face some kind of challenges in the form of labor, in the form of taxes, in the form of interest rates. Then comes cultural and language barriers. And these are one of the most prominent barrier, or you can say challenge, that usually organizations face. Cultural differences, including the language barriers, can pose challenges in understanding customer preferences, communication styles, and business practices. Businesses must invest in cultural understanding and adapt their products, marketing strategies, and communication to suit the specific cultural context. Now, cultural barriers, language barriers, they are very important when we talk about the communication barrier actually. Okay, so communication barrier include both of them, culture as well as the language barrier. Because when your resellers or your retailers, they are unable to communicate properly with the consumer, then how will they be able to sell their product or to keep the organization growing? It will be very difficult. In this case, it will be very difficult for the organization to work efficiently in a specific market. So usually in such cases, when there is a cultural difference between the market and the organization, the businesses, the organizations, they start to spend more on you can say the ways, uh, the programs in which they can omit this challenge. Okay, or you can say the programs that are basically promoting the cultural understanding. So when they are spending more money on cultural understanding as compared to their business, then of course this challenge will actually or eventually affect the growth of the organization, because along with their sale purchase, along with their business, they have to spend on other things as well, in training their labor, in training their employees, or by providing them different kinds of programs related to the language, related to the cultures. Okay, so in such cases this become very challenging for the organizations to work well. Then comes the market competition. Operating in different economies means facing competition from local and international competitors. Understanding the competitive landscape, market dynamics, and consumer behavior in each market is crucial for business to develop effective strategies and differentiate themselves. And this is, I think, this is the challenge. Such kind of challenge are usually seen faced by almost every organization when they are working in on global level, on international level. Okay, so when the organization is working on global level, of course it will face challenge related to the language barrier, related to the culture, related to the market competition, because the organization has moved itself from the national level to international level. So of course market competition is another challenge that will be faced by the organization, and it is dependent upon a number of things such as dynamics of the market or market demand, consumer behavior, the landscape. Of course the environment affect very efficiently on the growth of organization. Supply chain and infrastructure and supply chain capabilities may vary across the economies, impacting logistics, transportation, and the availability of resources. Businesses may need to adapt their supply chain strategies to overcome challenges related to infrastructure gaps, transportation costs, and regulatory requirements. Now, what is supply chain and infrastructure? Infrastructure is basically the framework of the organization or the strength of the organization, the inner strength of the organization, whether the organization is fully equipped with all the equipments, procedures, and everything, the raw material, including the raw material as well. So whether the organization is equipped with all the important things that are needed for proper functioning of organization or not. And the supply chain includes the supply throughout the organization, the supply of raw materials to the supply of the products, to the supply of the products to the consumer, and finally the customer. Okay, so supply chain and infrastructure should be as strong as the financial status of the organization, or as the proper understanding of workers of that organization. They should be capable enough to work within different kinds of markets, whether it is at national level or international level. Political and geopolitical risks. Operating in different economies exposes businesses to political and geopolitical risks such as changes in the government policies, trade disputes, sanctions, and geopolitical tensions. These factors can impact business operations, market access, and supply chain stability. Because political and geopolitical risks, of course, when you are working out of your country, then it is understood that your organization will suffer the political risks of that country as well. Because you belong to another country, it doesn't mean that you will not be abide by the laws of that country. You will follow the rules and regulations of that country, the laws of that country. And if the country face some kind of some kind of economical loss or financial loss, then of course your business will be affected directly. For example, if the inflation has been increased, inflation will increase in the country, then of course, due to rise in the inflation, you have to increase the prices of your products, and as a result of which the sale of your products will decrease. So this is just an example. Otherwise, all other factors will also affect the growth of your organization. Currency exchange and financial risks. Operating in different economies involves dealing with different currencies and exchange rates. Currency fluctuations can impact pricing, profit margins, and financial stability, requiring businesses to implement the risk management strategies and to mitigate currency exchange risks as well. Okay, so currency exchange and financial risks, these are the other things that are very important. Why do we consider currency exchange? Because, of course, again, you are working out of your country, you are working in another country, then you have to use the currency of that country on the priority, then the currency of your country. Okay, so as a result of the change or fluctuation in the currency rates, your business will again be affected. So, in short, in all the situation of benefits and challenges, your organization must be stable enough or strong enough to work on an international level. Never take the risk of taking your country to global level when your organization is not financially stable. To navigate these challenges, businesses need to conduct thorough market research, adapt their strategies to local contexts, build strong relationships with local stakeholders, invest in cultural understanding, and develop flexible and agile operational models. Okay, so this is the way how to deal with the challenges. The business should be financially stable, of course, and before all these things, the business should conduct the market research before going on a global level. Okay, and it should carry out the proper seminars, the proper training classes, and everything that is required to make your workers or make your employees able enough to adapt to the environment of the other country, adapt to the culture of the other country, and become so fluent in basic or local language of that country. Uh, of course, all these things will aid in proper growth of your organization. Okay, so this was all about generally what kind of challenges can be seen by the organizations. Now, what are the challenges that are mentioned in your syllabus? Let us have a look on them and discuss them one by one. Challenges may include the inability to communicate effectively with the international business environment, this economies of scale, the increase in regulations and international legislations, difficulty in adapting and meeting the needs of different cultures, and last is the language barriers. Okay, so these five kind of challenges are basically mentioned in your syllabus. So let us have a look on them one by one. First is the inability to communicate effectively with the international business environment. How communication is very important in terms of business. One of the significant challenges businesses may face when operating in different economies, economic environment is the inability to communicate effectively with the international business environment. Effective communication is essential for building relationships, establishing partnerships, understanding market needs, and ensuring smooth operations. Okay, so one of the significant, and as I have told you earlier, that it is the one of the main, most common challenge that is usually faced by almost every organization is the communication barrier, the language barrier, or even the culture barrier is usually included in such in communication barrier. So why it is necessary to remove such kind of barrier or to omit this challenge? Because effective communication, proper communication is very important to build relationship, to make the other person understand your product, the features of your product, or to understand what you are trying to communicate about regarding your business or regarding the efficiency of your product. And sometimes, because as we have discussed in the previous lecture, that businesses usually make partnership with each other, they collaborate with each other for the proper functioning of proper for the efficiency of their business. So effective communication or the proper communication is also necessary to establish partnerships as well. Understand the market needs. Yes, when you are working on international level, then of course it is very important to understand the market dynamics, the market demand, and for proper understanding you need to communicate properly in the local language of that country. And ensuring smooth operations, of course smooth operations would be a result of proper communication, effective communication. Language and cultural barrier can hinder the effective communication in the international business environment. Different countries may have different languages, communication styles, cultural norms, making it challenging for the business to convey their messages accurately and understand the nonsense of the communication in a foreign market. Okay, so why there is a need to understand the or to have the proper communication or to understand the culture or language of the other country, which country in which you are going to operate, your business is going to operate. It is very important because of course when your workers are unable to understand the language, the local language of that country, they will be unable to sell their products more efficiently. Moreover, variations in business etiquettes, norms, and protocols can also pose challenges. A gesture or communication style that is acceptable in one culture may be considered offensive or inappropriate in another. Misunderstandings arising from cultural differences can hamper effective communication and may even damage the business relationships. So, these are some of the reasons why it is important to communicate properly or to understand the language of other country. Okay, so if you will not be able to communicate properly in their local language, maybe you will convey your concept in a different way or in exactly opposite meaning. Okay, so it is, and as a result of such kind of misunderstanding, maybe your business will suffer loss, start to suffer losses. Okay, so it is very important to have a grip over proper communication. Technological barrier, this is another barrier which comes under the heading of communication barrier, can also impact communication in the international business environment. Differences in internet infrastructure, access to technology, and connectivity can hinder the effective real time communication between business partners located in different countries. So, every business should be the infrastructure, the inner framework, internal framework of every organization should be stable enough to, from technological point of view as well. Okay, so your infrastructure should be high tech so that you can be interrelated, you can be in, you can say, in contact with your partners all the time. To overcome these challenges, businesses can invest in language and cultural training programs for their employees, hiring local staff, or working with local partners who have a better understanding of the local culture and business practices can also facilitate effective communication. Additionally, utilizing the translation services, leveraging the technology for remote communication, and conducting thorough market research can help businesses navigate communication challenges in the internal business environment. So sometimes what happens that if you are unable to spend more money on special kind of programs for your employees, or you are unable to make them able to understand the local language of that country. In such cases, organization hire the local people, the local staff, for proper functioning of their organization. So as a result of which, your sale purchase will not be affected, because you have such kind of staff in your organization who are able to understand the local language and who are able to communicate more efficiently than your own workers, your own native workers. Okay, so this is one of the most commonly faced challenge, and in this way the businesses usually deal with this communication barrier. Next is diseconomies of scale. Diseconomies of scale are opposite of economies of scale and refer to the increase in costs per unit of output as a business grows beyond a certain point. So what is diseconomies of scale? Of course, it is opposite of economies of scale, and basically it means the increase in cost per unit of output as a business grows beyond a certain point. When your business grows beyond a certain point, means beyond your target point, when it is growing very efficiently, then as a result of which you need to increase your cost per unit of your products. Why? Because now your business has grown to international level, more people are familiar with your brand name, so of course you will start to generate more profit as a result of the fame of your name. Okay, so this is known as diseconomies. While economies of scale result in cost efficiencies and lower average cost, diseconomies of scale lead to increased average cost and operational challenges. Okay, so now you have increased the cost of your products because you have started to grow beyond your target point, then it may cause some kind of operational challenges. Now let us see what kind of operational challenges will occur as a result of diseconomies of scale. One of the challenges associated with diseconomies of scale is the loss of control and coordination within a large organization. As a business expands, it becomes more complex to manage and coordinate operations across different departments, locations, and functions. Communication, decision making, and implementation of the strategies may become slower and less efficient, leading to increased costs and decreased productivity. Another challenge is the potential for increased bureaucracy and inefficiencies. Large organizations often experience more layers of management, increased rules and regulations, and slower decision making processes. These bureaucratic okay, so one of the most obvious challenge that is related with the operational challenge that is related with the diseconomies of scale is that loss of control and the coordination within the large organization. Okay, so why does it happen? Why does the loss of control or coordination happen in large organizations? Because when your organization is now grown to a very far level, okay, your business has been expanded to a very enormous level. You have increased the cost of uh, pro- uh, cost per unit of your products as well. Now you need more labor, you need more workers to get employed, because now you are producing more products, your products are selling very efficiently. So when you need to hire more labor, not only the name of your brand is becoming famous, but also your organization is actually expanding. The workers, the employees are getting higher in number with each passing day or with each passing month. So as a result of which, because the organization is now very enormous, it become very difficult to have proper control over such big organization. Okay, so usually the complex and big organizations are not that much efficient as the small scale organizations are. In complex organizations, not only the control has been lost, but also the decision making sometimes decision making is has been it becomes very difficult, or it becomes slower in large organization, because there is a chain of command, there is a chain of people that are usually involved. So it takes much time to reach the boss of the organization to take proper decision regarding any matter, and then after that, basically the decision has been implemented. So these time taking decisions result in, they tend to start lowering the fame of your organization. Decision making will take time, implementation of decisions will take time. As a result of this time taking processes, your organization will start losing the efficiency of their workers, because the message will reach them in days or maybe in weeks after the implementation of certain kind of policy. Another challenge is the potential for increased bureaucracy and inefficiency. Now, what is meant by increased bureaucracy or inefficiency? Large organizations often experience more layers of management, increased rules and regulations. Okay, so same thing is explained here. Because the organization has been increased to a vast level or to enormous level, more labor is required, not only to work in the production area, but also to manage and to supervise that production unit. So as a result of increased management as well, of course the rules will be increased, the policies will be increased, decision making will be slower, implementation of decisions will be slower. So all these things will eventually affect the efficiency of your organization. These bureaucratic inefficiencies can hinder agility, innovation and responsiveness to market changes, resulting in higher cost and reduced competitiveness. So due to these changes, also your organization is selling the product on increased cost, and now the organization is suffering from such kind of inefficiencies. So it means that organization that has been prospered to beyond a certain level is now coming back to the point from where it started. Additionally, diseconomies of scale can arise from increased operational complexity and the need for specialized systems or processes. As a business grows, it may require more sophisticated technology, infrastructure, and skilled labor, which can lead to higher cost. Okay, first you have increased the cost because your name has become famous, because your organization has, you know, grown very successfully beyond a point. Now, the second is when you are compensating, or when you are basically sorting out the solution of increased production. You have hired a number of workers, more workers. Now what will you need? You need increased operational complexities, or you need specialized kind of system for proper functioning of the organization. So as a result of which, for the proper functioning of all these systems, again you will need skilled labor. You will need skilled people who can basically handle all these high tech things, which will of course lead to higher costs again, second time. Lastly, diseconomies of the scale can also result from a loss of flexibilities and inability to adapt quickly to changing market conditions. Large organizations may struggle to make swift adjustments to their operations, products, or services, which can result in missed opportunities and increased costs. Okay, now the third kind of challenge that usually occur as a result of diseconomies is the loss of flexibility, or the loss of ability to become stable as a result of the changing market conditions. Usually the small scale organizations, they are more able enough to adapt to the changes in the market condition as compared to the complex or enormous organizations. Okay, why? Because if we take a simple layman example, any organization that has only 5 individuals, and that organization is working on online platform. Okay, that organization is basically an online platform, and 5 individuals are dealing in that organization, working in that organization. So and the other organization that is working remotely in different markets, and it has thousands of workers working in the organization, then which organization is basically will be efficient enough to make stable as a result of the market condition? The small organization. Only 5 individuals are present. The decision making will be done by only 1 or 2% from the five, and the rules and laws will be easily implemented on all the individuals, on all the departments of that organization, and they will be of course fast enough to respond. And then again, the decision making, then again their response will be fast as compared to the other organization in which thousands of workers are working. So it takes almost days to weeks or even months for all the workers to respond to the changes in market condition, to respond to the laws or the policies that have been implemented as a result of changing market conditions. Okay, to mitigate the challenges or diseconomies of scale, businesses can focus on streamlining processes, improving communication and coordination, fostering a culture of innovation and flexibility, and investing in technologies that enhance efficiency. Regular evaluation and optimization of operations are essential to identify and address potential diseconomies of the scale before they significantly impact the business. Okay, so it is very important to keep your system updated, and keep the proper investigations related to the technology, related to the manpower of the organization, and related to the proper communication, coordination, almost every function, every process that is required for the proper functioning of organization. They should be smooth enough, they should be flexible enough. The organization should make itself more the flexible, or should make all the processes and the policies and every kind of process within the organization flexible enough to adapt to every change in the market environment. Okay, so as a result of this, and also the organization will keep its system updated all the time. So as a result of which, of course, the organization will be stable enough and to deal with every kind of challenge. Third is the increase in regulations and international legislations. The increase in regulations and international legislations poses a significant challenge for the businesses operating in different economic environments. As governments and international bodies introduce more regulations and laws, businesses face increased compliance requirements which can impact their operation and profitability. Okay, so organization is now working on international level, so of course they should face um, a very important challenge related to the international laws, the implementation of international legislations. So as the government and the international bodies, the international platforms or the international firms, they introduced more laws, more regulations, then of course the business will suffer related to their profit as well as their operation as well. So one challenge is that complexity and diversity of regulations across different countries. Each jurisdiction may have its own set of laws, regulations, and compliance standards, making it challenging for the business to navigate and ensure compliance in multiple markets. So organization is working in more than one market at one time. Okay, it is working on international level and it is also working on national level. And on national level it is working in open market, free market, and it is working in a more stable market as compared to the free market. So in all these three markets the organization is already facing different kinds of regulations, different kinds of laws, and of course it is mandatory for organization to show the compliance with all the laws. So it become very challenging for the business to face different kind of legislations in different kind of markets, and then make itself adaptable to the regulatory frameworks or regulatory infrastructure. Moreover, the rapid evolution of regulations and international legislations adds another layer of complexity. Okay, so now the first challenge was the complexity of the laws. Now, the other challenge that sometimes arises is the evolution of the regulations or evolution of the laws in international regulations. Businesses must stay updated on new laws, changes in the existing regulations, and emerging compliance requirements. Failure to comply with these regulations can result in penalties, legal liabilities, and reputational damage and operational disruptions as well. Okay, so whether the organization is facing such kind of challenges related to laws and then evolution in these laws, or whether the organization is not changing that much changes in the legal sorry legislations or regulations, in every case the organization should be basically strong enough, should be stable enough, should be flexible enough to adapt to the legislation changes as well, because it is mandatory for the business to show compliance with the law, every kind of law, whether it is national law, whether it is international law. So because the organizations don't have any choice left behind and they have to comply with the laws in every case, so what is the basic need? They should be strong enough, organizations should be strong enough and flexible enough to adapt to the changes in the laws as well. Another challenge is the potential for conflicting regulations between different jurisdictions. Businesses may encounter conflicting requirements, standards, or interpretations of laws while operating internationally. Okay, so first challenge was diversity in laws. Second challenge was the evolution of further evolution of these laws, and now the third challenge that may occur is the conflicting requirements or the conflicting regulations that usually the organizations face. Navigating these conflicts and ensuring consistent compliance across the different markets can be challenging and costly. Of course, when any organization is not ready to for any such kind of law that is usually unbearable for organization in terms of growth, then How the organization will deal with such kind of challenge? It is a very difficult condition because it will affect not only the profit margin, revenue generation of the organization, but also the proper functioning of the organization will be affected. Furthermore, because basically every organization has its own laws, its own rules and policies, and usually these rules and policies are according to the uh, national laws of the country to which the organization belong. But when the organization work on a global level, then sometimes it is very rare. Sometimes the organization may face conflicting regulations or the legislation. Now, as a result of which organization has to change its own rules and policies as well. So this situation is very conflicting because along with the revenue generation, the functioning of the organization is also affected. Furthermore, complying with international legislation such as trade agreements, export import regulations, data protection laws, anti corruption measures can be complex and resource intensive. Businesses must invest in compliance programs, systems, and training to ensure adherence to these international standards. To overcome the challenges of increased regulations and international legislations, businesses can establish robust compliance programs, engage legal experts or consultants, and maintain a proactive approach to monitoring and implementing regulatory changes. Building strong relationships with the regulatory authorities and industry associations can also help businesses stay informed and effectively navigate with the complex regulatory landscape. So, this is the treatment of such kind of challenge. Sometimes it becomes very difficult, or you can say impossible, for the organization to adhere to the conflicting regulations. So, what should the organization do in such conditions? It should hire some kind of legal experts or the consultants that actually deal with the higher authorities of that country or law enforcement agencies of that country, and they should have a negotiation between them in order to have a way out of such situation. So in these situations, it is usually advisable to build strong relationships with the regulatory authorities of the other country in whose market our organization is going to work. So sometimes it is not possible for organization to adhere to some laws, and they should be sorted out because it is effectively badly affecting the revenue generation and the functioning of the organization as well. Now, the fourth challenge is difficulty in adapting and meeting the needs of the culture. One of the challenges the businesses face when operating in different economic environments is the difficulty in adapting and meeting the needs of different cultures. Cultural differences can significantly impact the business operations, customer preferences, and communication styles. Okay, so we have discussed a little bit about uh, cultures in our first challenge, that is communication barrier. So and we have discussed in that challenge as well that how important is the cultural differences or adapting to the different cultures when you are working on a global level. By you, actually, I mean your organization. Understanding and adapting to different cultures is crucial for businesses to effectively market their products or services, build relationships with the customers, and provide exceptional customer experience. However, cultural nonsense can be complex and require deep knowledge and sensitivity. Language barrier can be a major challenge in cross cultural business environments. Effective communication may require translation services or hiring staff who are fluent in the local language. Miscommunication or misunderstandings due to the language differences can hinder business relationships and affect the customer satisfaction. Yes, we have discussed all these points earlier, that how important is the cultural difference, how important is the language barrier, how to deal with such kind of barrier. Every organization should make their workers efficient enough to understand the local language of the country as well as their culture. Because if your worker, especially the one who are standing on the reception, they are unable to communicate properly in the local language, then they will be basically unable to add on into the growth of their organization. Moreover, consumer preferences and behaviors can vary significantly across the cultures. Businesses need to conduct thorough market research and adapt their products and market strategies and customer services approach to align with the specific needs and preferences of each cultural market. Okay, so that is why it is said that you need to do thorough market research before introducing your organization on a global level. You must choose that country whose culture basically resembles with your culture, okay, and in whose environment your workers can work efficiently because there is a similarity between the culture, or your workers are very efficient enough to adapt to the culture of that country. So thorough market research is very important. Failure to do so can result in missed opportunities and limited success in foreign markets. Cultural differences also extend to business practices, etiquettes, and negotiation styles. Understanding and respecting these differences is vital for building trust, establishing partnerships, and conducting successful business transactions. Lack of cultural understanding can lead to misunderstandings, conflicts, and unsuccessful business relationships. Okay, so sometimes when you are working on global level and actually you need a kind of push for the proper functioning of your organization. So sometimes your organization may collaboration with other organizations, the national organizations of that country. So in order to have proper collaboration or a strong partnership with the local organization of that country, you need to understand each and every perspective of the culture of their country. Okay, so that is why it is very important to deal with this kind of challenge. To overcome the challenge of adapting to different cultures, businesses should invest in cultural training and education for their employees, hiring local staff or working with local partners who have a deep understanding of the local culture and can also provide valuable insights and facilitate smoother business operations. Building strong relationships with the local stakeholders and demonstrating cultural sensitivity can help businesses gain acceptance and trust in foreign markets. Okay, so this is why it is very important to deal with such kind of challenge. Cultural differences and language differences, they should be properly dealt when you are working in the other country. Language barrier, again, a part of communication barrier. Language difference can affect the business communication in various ways. For example, in some cases, businesses may need to hire translators to communicate with local customers or partners. This can be costly and time consuming. In other cases, businesses may need to invest in the language training programs for their employees to learn the local language. Okay, so sometimes when basically usually it happens when at the start of uh, their at the start of working of any organization in the country on in another country or working on a global level. So what organizations do, they start hiring the translators from that country for their proper functioning, but of course that is costly as compared to the programs or the training sessions that can be introduced for the training of their native employees. And if that is not possible, of course, then instead of hiring the translators, they can hire the workers or the employees who will work for the sake of sale purchase for the organization. Moreover, language differences can impact business marketing strategies. Businesses need to ensure that their marketing messages are culturally appropriate and resonate with the local customers. This requires deep understanding and sensitivity to the local language, culture, and customs. Language barriers can also affect employee recruitment and training. For example, businesses may need to hire employees who are bilingual or multilingual to communicate with customers or partners in different languages. This can increase recruitment costs and require additional training programs. Okay, so the same thing that I have told you earlier, instead of hiring the translators or instead of introducing the local language programs and trainings for their native employees, they start hiring the local people from that country who are bilingual or sometimes multilingual or who are unable to communicate in more than one language. To overcome language barriers, business can invest in language training programs for their employees, hire bilingual, multilingual staff, or work with the local partners who can provide language and cultural expertise. Technology can also help businesses overcome language barriers, such as using translation software or apps to facilitate the communication. It is essential for businesses to recognize the importance of language differences and take steps to address them to ensure effective communication and successful business operations. So, these are some ways how the organizations can deal with the language barriers. So, they can hire translators by making a partnership with the local organizations. They can also hire the local employees. And if both of these things are, you know, costly for the organization, then the organization can go for special kind of language training programs or the language training sessions for its native employees or native workers. So these are the challenges that are mentioned in your context. So we have discussed all of them one by one. If you have any kind of question, please tell me.
No, ma'am. Alhamdulillah, that was easy.
Good. And beta, here, Huran, Rasha, and Moimad.
Yes, ma'am.
Hur- Do you have any question?
Yes, ma'am. No, no, not now. No,
Oh,
ma'am.
okay, all right. Okay, so beta, today's lecture's objective was to understand the operating in different economies and equip you people with the knowledge, skills, and mindset to succeed in global business environments. They become adept at navigating the complexities, embracing diversity, and leveraging the opportunities in diverse economic contexts. So, how basically the organizations deal with the challenges, how they deal with all these situations in which it become very difficult for them to generate proper revenue. So, this was all about the syllabus of your subject. So, we have completed it today, and in next class we will be having our last assignment class. So up till now, if anything is unclear to you people, or you want to have a review lecture of any of the class, then you can tell Miss Kinza, and inshallah we will be arranging the uh, recap, or you can say review class for such lectures. Okay, Beta, can you tell me any of the challenge that usually organizations face?
Ma'am, it could be the communication, the miscommunication, not no clear information that is being passed to the another organization, be it in the national market or a free market. So I think one of the main
Mm-hmm.
challenge the company face is the communication.
Communication, okay, all right. Very important, or you can say very significant challenge, most common challenge, you can say. Because in communication, almost every type of barrier, language barrier, culture barrier, they come under the heading of communication barrier. So, inshallah, I hope to see you all in the next class. That will be the assignment, task number 4 of your subject, okay? So, take care of yourself, inshallah. See you in the next class. And try to complete your assignments on time and make them submit to the administration on time as well. Okay, take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz, beta.
Okay, ma'am. Take care. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.